Welcome back. When I was a kid, we used to go on these amazing holidays. Nothing reminds me more of those times than this. Here's some I prepared earlier. Come over here. Check this out. I've had these in the oven for a little while now. Yes. Nothing reminds me more of caca de turro than these beautiful. Oh, look at that. Look at the crust on it. You know what it smells like? It smells like steaming hot bullshit. Does authenticity even apply to something like the cheesy Gordita crunch? We shall see. Is this video the best version of it on YouTube? Maybe not yet. Can I teach you some valuable cooking techniques within these chapters? Yes. Roll on with the gorditas. Translated to English, literally means little fatty. The dough is ridiculously easy to make and only needs an hour at room to proof. And it's a simple matter of just combining all the ingredients in any bloody order you want, to be honest. There's a full recipe and instructions on my website, including conversions from metric. We're going to add 340 grams of bread flour to 50 grams of cornmeal, 3.5 grams of instant dried yeast, 2 grams of baking powder, 1.5 grams of baking soda, 15 grams of sugar, 5 grams of salt, 125 grams of water, 110 grams of yogurt. And you will add 30 grams of oil. I just forgot to do this when I was making this video. You'll see me add it later, but when you add it really isn't important. We're not trying to get too technical with these. The basic theory is we're just loading it with leaveners, both chemical and natural, a little bit like me actually, and developing the gluten a little bit, but we're not stressing out about the finer details. The one thing we do want to keep in line with basic baking theory is trying to maintain the hydration, especially because now we have corn in this, which can affect hydration in different ways than flour does. The only thing you need to bear in mind regards hydration at the moment is to just go easy on the flour that you use on your fingers. This is a sticky dough. And now you're seeing me add the oil. If you do forget it like me, then all you have to do is pat the dough back out in the bowl and then just simply fold the oil into the dough. Like I said, a nice light kneading, about 5, 6, 7 minutes. If you're using hands, it's a very sticky dough. That's why I do recommend a mixer. And it's not just for convenience sake only. It's for this sake. It's for keeping the hydration exactly where we want it. The yogurt also adds hydration, but it also activates the chemical leavener and provides a very distinct taste and texture. So don't omit. I added the cornmeal to give us that corn taste you're going to expect from a cheesy gordita. As we'll see later in the video, I am not using fried corn tortillas for the crunchy part. Rest the dough at room temperature covered for 15-ish minutes, allowing the gluten to relax before we shape it. After this short rest, cut the dough into little 50-gram balls, roll up tight, and cover in a tray. You can just cover straight on the counter with bowl, anything you want. The basic principle is to prevent air from getting to the dough balls. Then just leave out at room temperature for 1 to 2 hours. There's loads more to learn in this video. That was just the top of the, it was just the kind of, what's the most of it, the large majority of it is submerged in, say, in water, and you can only see the very, very top. As a demonstration, imagine this was the thing, but you could only see like that, the very kind of end of it, the very end of this. The rest of it's underneath, like there's more depth to it. While the gorditas are rising for an hour and a half, you can get everything else ready. Time to put the crunch in cheesy gordita. And for this, I used plantains to make tostones, and I even found a very useful and slightly healthier way to make them. I did this little experiment just to like show that, the greener the plantain, the crispier it is, and the results are, yes, that is the case. So there you go. But don't go off color alone. Go off feel. If they're a bit squishy and definitely feel syrupy when you peel them, they ain't good enough. Now, the traditional way to make these things is to soak them in some sort of acidity. Traditionally, they use lime juice for this. And after soaking them, you will then fry them once to kind of blanch them, if you will, in oil. And then take them out, let them cool down a bit, squash them and fry them again. Simples, right? And that's great. But I took it one step further and came up with a technique that both saves time and is relatively more healthier. It goes a little something like this. We bring our plantains up to the boil with water and 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, 2 teaspoons of salt, and we cook them bad boys on medium-high heat for 8 minutes. Then you strain them, cool them down, and then squash them into circles. And also, untraditionally, I went sideways instead of top down, so that I could have a more round piece to properly match the gordita. Link in the description for this tortilla press. If you're going to make any type of homemade tortilla, you need one of these, but you don't need them for this purpose. Squash them with a book or the bottom of a pan, but please try this. It beats the absolute monkey shit out of regular corn tortillas. You can now just leave them out at room temperature ready to fry them off, or you can refrigerate them like I did. I actually made these the night before I had to go to work. Quick tip though, if you do refrigerate them, don't fry them till they're back at room temperature, and give them a little zap in the microwave to get rid of some residual water that they might build up. But these are the best when you fry them off right before you assemble everything. Should you want to fry them off prior to everything, give them a little quick zappy zap in under the grill with a bit of oil and you're good to go. Let's make some taco meat. I watched a few videos on the YouTubes and nearly everybody I watched absolutely murdered the meat. I'm going to show you the right way to do it. First off, let me just say this right away. If you are trying to brown ground beef, you're fighting a losing battle. And if you're not cooking your bay leaves, don't even bother putting them in. Saute 3 or 4 bay leaves on a very low heat with a little bit of oil, and then lower the heat and add your fairly leanish beef. I grind my own beef. I've got a $50 grinder and I use it all the time. It means I can grind it to a fine ground, which is the desired texture we want for taco meat. And it also means I know what I'm using, which is chuck. Once you've drained the fat off, we're going to add a cup of water. Don't drain all the fat, but like most of it. And you can see this meat now, not browned. And trying to achieve it because of physics will just give you knobbly, overcooked beef. A bit of gravy browning and 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, 2 teaspoons of roast garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of granulated onion, half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. But if you want to make it a bit more spicy, add a bit more cayenne pepper. And then my secret ingredient, a couple of teaspoons of cocoa powder. Don't ask me why, but it works. And guess where I got the idea? The Taco Bell website. There's cocoa powder in their taco meat. Guess what? Tastes bloody good. Now it's time to just finish with some salt and pepper. Add a bit more of any of the ingredients you feel like. If you want it a bit more sweet, add some more tomato paste, so on and so forth. But the basic flavors are here. From start to end, this meat takes about maybe 10 minutes. This is your one objective: to combine the ingredients and to reduce to a consistency that looks like taco meat. Just remember these key points. Don't try and brown the meat. Don't cook the absolute arse off it for hours, and get it somewhere just above sauce consistency. There's literally no need to do anything to the contrary. I've seen a lot of YouTubers cooking ground beef taco meat for extended periods of time. One of these people criminally cooked it for an hour long. I am not going to get into who that is or criticize that method in particular. I want you to imagine ground beef not as one thing, like you're cooking ground beef. Imagine instead that you're cooking ground beefs. Plural. Let me explain. Imagine this is a ribeye, 16-ounce ribeye, and we cut it into a tiny little piece. We wouldn't use the same cooking times or even principles to cook them both, would we? This one would take a lot less time. We wouldn't cook it for longer. And conversely, the opposite is true for this one. All right, so why did I say you're fighting a losing battle trying to get browning Maillard reaction from ground beef? And the answer is simple, simple physics. Maillard reaction is a very desirable outcome, and we want to get it on a 16-ounce ribeye. We do that by introducing heat to the outside. It comes up to 300 degrees, and those reactions occur. Now, but imagine if you put this steak in a pot of boiling water. When do you think it would brown? It would brown when all of the water is gone. Boil this, you're not going to get a Maillard reaction. Even though this is 55, 60-ish% water, this is a ribeye still, we can get the outside of it to 300 degrees before the water in the inside has time to reach the exterior. Now look at the size of this, all right? And even if you've got hundreds, thousands of them, you still only have loads of these. How long do you think it takes for the water to go from the center of this to the outside of it in a hot pan? It's immediate. When it's immediate with thousands of them, you're going to fill the pan with water, and that water will not allow Maillard reaction to occur. And you can get some browning on some of the meat, but in a very short period of time, you're going to fill the pan with water, and in order to get any browning on it from then, you'll have to evaporate all the water. What is another word for water? Juice. what happens to meat when you cook all of the moisture out of it. It becomes dry. Besides from the fact that a tiny little piece of protein this size should not be cooked for an extended duration. It just should be just common sense. But because we all, and honestly, like ages ago, I presume the same thing. You've got this big pile of ground beef. It's a thing, but it's not. It is many things, many individual little things. That's the basic principle. I'll be doing a more fleshed, more fleshed. Oh, Mickey, what are you doing, Mickey? You know, like a more meaty video about the subject soon. Stay tuned, baby boo. All right, let's put this all together. We're gonna make some creamy baja ranch. This is not a terribly spicy version of it, but you can make it as spicy as you want. I'm gonna tell you the basic principles. You can use dried oregano. I've just got a plant and that's what I use. It's basically equal parts buttermilk, sour cream, and mayonnaise. In this particular case, I'm using 100 grams of each. With 2 grams of chipotle pepper powder, salt and pepper. Then, of course, I finish with my fresh chopped oregano. Oregano is probably one of the only herbs of its type that is great dry. These plants have evolved in very warm climates and have their oils buried deeper in the systems. Same is true for things like bay leaves, etc. Just ask Harold McGee. Most of your other herbs like parsley and all that are going to taste like hay when they're dried because they are, for the majority, water-based. I know this all sounds stupid when I'm chopping up some fresh oregano, but use what you've got, which I'm doing here. That's it. Sauce done. Let's get the rest of the stuff ready. After the dough balls have rested at room temperature for an hour or two, bring a dry pan up to medium-high heat. Flour a clean surface to roll your little dough balls out on. Use your own best judgment to see how thick you want these. But remember, they will rise a little bit. So you can go quite thin and achieve that gordita-ish thickness. Couple of millimeters should do the trick. Then it's a simple case of just giving each one a couple of minutes on each side, remembering not to overdo it. As soon as a few bubbles form on the top of the one in the pan, flip it over. And of course, you can be rolling the next one out as that one is cooking. Just repeat steps. Then once you've got like a very slight browning on each side, one with very pronounced colored bubbles, whack them on a plate. It's time to fry off those lovely tostone discs. Get a pan up to medium-high heat, add some neutral cooking oil. Check out these plantains, by the way. Look how flat and disc-like they are. Now these we're gonna brown. We'll fry them on each side till they're brown, add them to paper towels, and then basically assemble everything. At some point in the very near future, I'll be experimenting in ways of how to make this into like a taco shell shape. But for now, the only option is to just cut them down the middle and deal with it. Overall, you'll never taste anything as good as this in the realm of cheesy gordita crunch facsimiles. If you make it and agree with me, you can comment. Don't forget to salt them the moment they hit the paper. Do that with anything fried and crispy. By now, your gorditas might cool down a little bit, so just throw them in the pan. The residual heat will warm them up. My meat had been in the fridge, so I microwaved it for about 45 seconds with a couple of teaspoons of water. Here's a pro tip for you. Shred your iceberg nice and thin, but don't neglect this stuff. Add some lemon juice and thick, chunky Maldon sea salt, and you'll never go back to regular old neglected iceberg again. Both salt and lemon juice are flavor enhancers, and we all know iceberg needs a little nudge. Instead of a 3-cheese blend or any of that crap, I'm just using Kobe Jack. 2 cheeses in a bundle, and then, like everybody else on the YouTubes, just using a blowtorch to melt it. Check out that crunch. I do have a heat gun. I did try that. Not quite as effective. Do keep an eye out for Cheesy Gordita Crunch 2.0 that I shall be making, where I'm going to just evolve this to crazy heights. I know it's like garbage food that it's based on, but in theory, there's nothing wrong with comfort food as long as it's done right. And principally, the Taco Bell Cheesy Gordita Crunch, what makes it so appealing is the play on textures. Biting through that soft, fluffy bread, crunching through the crunch and getting to that savory meat, and sauce all over your bloody face is, you know, worth the effort. And in this case, there's not that much effort. The plantains might be the hardest part, and if you're not feeling that adventurous, just use good old corn tortillas like everybody else. I've got some really good ideas to evolve this dish, so stay tuned to the channel. I also have loads of plans to evolve myself and the content that I make, starting with cutting all the bullshit out. Let me know what you think about anything. Thanks for watching. See you next time.